Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Podcast, the only history show where the past is dumber than we are, and that's saying something, because last week I thought algebra was just Spanish for alligator. Today's date is August 29th, which turns out to be a mighty busy day for endings, beginnings, and a whole lot of oops. We broke civilization again. Strap on your overalls, grab a warm bush light, and let's take a redneck ride through history. Segment 1, Frederick the Great starts a global bar fight, 1756. So picture this, it's 1756. King Frederick the Great of Prussia wakes up and says, you know what'd be fun? Invading Saxony before breakfast. Boom, just like my cousin Randy at a karaoke bar. He throws the first punch and suddenly the whole world's fighting. They call it the 7 Years' War, but really it was just Europe playing Risk and knocking over everybody's beer. Britain teams up with Prussia. France jumps in with Austria and Russia, and suddenly you got battles on 5 continents. This is why historians call it the First World War. Although, in my neck of the woods, a world war is just when Walmart runs out of Mountain Dew and we all storm the Piggly Wiggly. The war ends with Britain sitting on Canada, India, and every bragging right on earth. Of course, the Brits then look at their colonies and go, hey y'all, pay up for this war we just won. And the colonies go, how about nah? Cue the American Revolution. So Frederick the Great basically set the stage for George Washington, which means Prussia is indirectly responsible for Toby Keith's songs. God bless history. Segment 2, Britain gets China hooked, 1842. Next up, the Treaty of Nanking, August 29th, 1842. Britain wins the Opium War and tells China, hand over Hong Kong, open your ports. And by the way, sorry we got you hooked on the opium. Devil's lettuce, but British edition. They call it the Century of Humiliation for China, which sounds like the time I tried to ride a mechanical bull after 6 moonshines. Britain basically said, we'll trade you tea for drugs, which honestly sounds like half the deals in my high school parking lot. This is where globalization really got ugly. One empire profits, one nation crumbles, and everybody else lines up to carve off a slice, which is basically how it feels when my uncle carves the Thanksgiving turkey. No matter what, you're not getting a leg. Segment 3, Soviets pull the plug, 1991, flash forward. August 29, 1991, the Soviet Union says, all right, boys, party's over. The Supreme Soviet suspends the Communist Party itself. Imagine outlawing Budweiser in Alabama. That's the level of chaos. This comes right after a bunch of hardline communists tried a coup against Gorbachev. Boris Yeltsin climbed on a tank like he was auditioning for Dukes of Hazzard, Moscow Drift, and the coup collapsed. A week later, boom. The party that ran the USSR for 74 years is toast. By December, the hammer and sickle comes down. Russia throws up the tricolor, and America starts flexing like Hulk Hogan in the Cold War WrestleMania. Soviet collapse is proof that no matter how tough you act, you will eventually get tackled by economics, bad vodka, and a guy named Boris. Segment 4, Michael Faraday discovers electricity ain't just for shocks, 1831. Now let's talk science. August 29th, 1831, Michael Faraday figures out electromagnetic induction. Basically, he discovers how to make electricity using magnets, which means without him, y'all wouldn't have power for NASCAR, TikTok, or microwaving pizza rolls. The man was tinkering with wires and magnets when suddenly, zap, electric current. Meanwhile, I tried the same thing with my truck battery once and ended up with no eyebrows. Faraday was so smart, he laid the groundwork for the entire electric grid. Without him, we'd still be lighting barns with kerosene lamps and burning our mullets clean off. Segment 5, Soviets go boom, 1949. But of course, science ain't always friendly. August 29th, 1949, the Soviet Union tests its first atomic bomb. America thought they had 10-year head start, but nope. Russia copied our homework, thanks to spies like Klaus Fuchs. That's right. History's greatest nuke secret came from a guy named Fuchs. But this test kicked off the nuclear arms race, which is like 2 rednecks playing chicken with propane tanks strapped to their tractors. We ended up with mutually assured destruction, or MAD, which ain't just a strategy. It's also how I feel watching my neighbor mow his lawn shirtless at 3 a.m. Segment 6, Motorcycles and Netflix, 1885 and 1997. Here's a twofer. August 29, 1885, Gottlieb Daimler patents the first motorcycle. It was basically a wooden bike with a gas engine, training wheels, and no muffler. So basically a Harley rider at Sturgis, but slower. Then, exactly 112 years later in 1997, Netflix was founded. At first it was just DVDs by mail, but now it's where we all binge watch true crime while eating Doritos at 3 a.m. Daimler gave us freedom on the open road. Netflix gave us freedom to not leave the couch. Both changed the world. One made by gasoline, the other by late fees. And fun fact, Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix for $50 million and laughed it off. That's like passing on buying a winning scratch-off because you thought it smelled funny. Segment 7, The Beatles quit touring, 1966, and John Cage quit sound, 1952. August 29th is also about music. First, 1952. John Cage debuts 4:33, a piece of music that is literally 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. That's not music. That's my Uncle Darrell napping on the porch. Then in 1966, the Beatles played their last concert in San Francisco. They're so sick of screaming fans drowning out the music, they say, forget it, we're just going to stay in the studio. Which, to be fair, is what I said about playing guitar after one bad night at karaoke. So in one day, music history gave us too much noise to hear the music and no music at all. Kind of feels like my church's bluegrass band, honestly. Segment 8, Shays Rebellion, 1786. August 29th, 1786. Farmers in Massachusetts rise up because taxes are crushing them. Daniel Shays leads a bunch of dudes with pitchforks to shut down courts. This was America's first, hey government, you suck, Tyler's moment. The rebellion scared the elites so bad, they realized the Articles of Confederation weren't working. Out of that fear came the U.S. Constitution. So basically, our whole government exists because some broke farmers decided to LARP as the Avengers with muskets. Segment 9, Hurricane Katrina, 2005. Finally, the sad one. August 29, 2005. Hurricane Katrina slams the Gulf Coast, flooding New Orleans and exposing just how unprepared we were. Levees broke, people were stranded, and the government response was slower than my cousin Kenny trying to spell Mississippi. Katrina wasn't just a storm, it was a mirror. It showed America our infrastructure was weak. Our disaster planning was worse than that when disaster hits, poor folks get left behind. That's a lesson we still ain't learned, which is scarier than any hurricane. Segment 10, Birthdays, Locke, Jackson, and Bergman. August 29 also gave us some big birthdays. He had John Locke in 1632, the philosopher who invented liberalism. Without him, America wouldn't have life, liberty, and property, or Bud Light commercials. Michael Jackson in 1958, the king of pop, whose moonwalk was smoother than a buttered biscuit. And Ingrid Bergman, born in 1915 and died on the same day in 1982, star of Casablanca. She got to say, here's looking at you, kid, while I can barely say, here's looking at you, Bush Light. In conclusion. So what did we learn today, folks? August 29th is basically history's mullet. Business in the front, party in the back. You got wars, treaties, nukes, rock stars, hurricanes, and Netflix all on one date. It's proof that history ain't boring. It's just badly explained by sober people. So next time somebody tells you August 29th don't matter, just say, son, without this day, we wouldn't have electricity, motorcycles, or stranger things. And that's the truth. Poorly educated though it may be. That's the Poorly Educated Podcast for August 29th. Y'all come back next time and remember, history repeats itself. Usually because somebody wasn't paying attention.